Happy Friday, everybody. We made it through the week. So I have this is the 5th day, have done videos every day on different pieces of worthiness, of why it's important, of what it gives us, of where we find it, of a part of worthiness that people don't talk about. And today I wanted to talk about the consequences of when you don't see your worth. Right? Because I've talked to you about the importance of it. I talked to you about the difference it can make in your life. I talk about why it's important, but I don't talk about the consequences of not seeing your worth and the result and effect that it has in your life. And so I was interviewed by a friend this week on her channel and on her live. And this was one of the questions she asked me. And I was like, this is so important to talk about because I talk about why it's important, but I don't always talk about the consequences. And so the consequences of not knowing your worth, right? I like to, a lot of times, they're tangible, we can see them in their life. So I'm going to talk about the tangible ones, but I'm also going to talk about what we feel inside. So these emotions are invitations that the universe is giving you, right? Or the higher power, whatever you pray to, whatever you believe is guiding you in your life. This is an invitation to see your worth. It doesn't have to mean anything's wrong or you're broken or anything else. It is seriously just having an invitation being dropped at your doorstep saying, hey, are you ready to see your worth? Hey, are you ready to see your worth? So this is how I want you to look at it, is you're not broken and there's nothing wrong with you. This is just an invitation for you to feel more at peace. So the consequences of not knowing your worth are anxiety and depression, right? Of course, medication is needed in a lot of different reasons and for imbalances in our brain, and supplementally to medication for those who need medication. Going into our worth is a great way to support our bodies and our minds. For people who don't need medication, this is a way to combat insomnia, anxiety, right? Depression, the inner turmoil where you feel like you are out of control. Insecurity, right? That deep-seated insecurity of feeling like you're a burden on somebody else. Feeling like you can't ask for what you want because you're afraid of making someone else uncomfortable. You're afraid of saying no to anything, right? Because you're afraid that it's going to hurt the other person's feelings, or you're going to let them down, or that it's your responsibility. The consequence of not knowing your worth is you take on other people's stuff. So you take on other people's emotions that aren't yours. You take on other people's expectations that aren't yours. You take on other people's results and problems that aren't yours to take on, to fix. You can still have compassion, you can still have empathy, but they are not yours to burden and take on and carry. Consequence of not knowing your worth is feeling like there's so much pressure built up on you, that you have to prove yourself, that you're not good enough, so you're constantly proving, and you're constantly feeling like you are not good enough in your life for other people, right? For yourself, for your family. And they may or may not say something to you, but this is a feeling that affects you. A consequence of not knowing your worth is settling. It's settling in a job just because they're paying you. It's settling because you're afraid of taking the leap. It's settling in relationships even though you don't feel that fire and you know that it's not serving you or that person anymore, but you don't know if there's anyone else out there. You don't think anyone else can love you. Right? You don't want to go through the effort of finding someone because this is good enough, right? It's settling in friendships. It's settling for a body and how you feel in your body. Low self-worth is yo-yo dieting. It's accepting living from paycheck to paycheck. It's not asking for the raise or setting boundaries around work. To be with your family, to be with your kids, because you're afraid of saying no or letting them down, or they dictate how you feel about yourself. Other people's praise, other people's approval, whether you get it or not. These are all parts and consequences of not knowing your worth. You won't charge for your services. You give so much away, but you are not compensated for. You can't even take yourself to the doctor or to the dentist or take care of those needs that you have because you're not making enough money, because you're not charging. You have an idea that is sprouting inside of you and that you know you're being asked to create and put forth this idea, this movement, this project, right? But you don't believe that you have what it takes, or you think that you have to do more, achieve more, be more in order to get there. This is a consequence of not doing your work, of not knowing your worth. And one of the biggest consequences of not knowing your worth is that you believe the lies that you've told yourself your whole life. You believe that you can never have that. You believe that you're just not the type of person that gets to have that. You're not the type of person that gets to experience that love, gets to experience that joy, that freedom, that peace. You're not the type of person that is magnetic, that people are attracted to and just want to be around. You believe that something's wrong with you, and you internalize everything that happens to you as your fault, that you did something, that it's your fault, that you are not good enough. You believe these lies that you have been fed by the media, by other people's expectations, and internalize things that you have told yourself. You've taken unfortunate consequences in your life and made it mean that it was you. And there's a difference between taking on responsibility and taking full responsibility for your life, and then taking on blame that isn't yours and making yourself wrong when you don't need to. These are all consequences of low self-worth. And the most beautiful thing is they're consequences of low self-worth. So what are the consequences when you have worth? When you know your worth? What are the benefits of knowing your worth? Is you get to strive for peace and not perfection. You get to feel enough regardless of what happens around you. That other people's opinions and judgments and criticisms, while they might sting a little, they don't stay with you for days or weeks, or you don't lose sleep over them. How you do or don't do at work, what your boss thinks or doesn't think, doesn't affect what you know you are worthy of, because you are worthy outside of work, outside of dollars, outside of a partner, outside of a family, outside of approval. You're worthy as you are. You are whole as you are. And so imagine that freedom, that peace, that fulfillment that you would feel if you knew that already. The risks you would take, how you put yourself out there, the freedom and the adrenaline and the exhilaration. Imagine what you could create in life if you did that. If you knew your worth. If you loved yourself regardless. It doesn't mean that it's perfect. It doesn't mean you do it perfectly. That's not what it's about. It means that you're looking for progress. That you see yourself for what you do instead of what you don't. That you focus on how far you have come and so how far you haven't. And you experience love and connection and abundance in a way that you only ever thought other people experienced. So what are the consequences? You already know them because you've experienced them. Anything I said that you're like, oh my God, yes, that's low self-worth. And I'm here to tell you that even though that might be something you suffered from, you learned it. You were not born into this world judging or doubting your worth. You were not born here. You learned that. And the amazing news about that is if you learned it, guess what? You can unlearn it. And you can learn a new way of being and a new way of creation in your life that will blow your mind. So just wait for what I have coming for you next week, because I'm here to help you get there. Have an amazing rest of your day. Have an amazing rest of your week, and I will talk to you soon.